It's 6 days away. It's the first major of the year. It's game time. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Golf Shop at Franklin Country Club. Special treat for you tonight as we are going to highlight all 7 flights, 112 players of the first major of the year, the Memorial Day Round Robin Championship. Tonight, I'm joined by PGA Golf Professionals Stephen Dowling and PGA Golf Professional Jim Richard. We're going to take you through, flight by flight, look at the #1 seeds and see who's going to be chasing them up the ladder here. There's a lot of different storylines going on right now. Guys coming off the injured reserve. We got guys playing great golf. We got guys playing subpar golf right now. No pun intended. But we will hopefully give you a little insight on where you're going to be, where you'll hopefully end up in the flight, as we're going to talk about teams that are, I'd say, the favorites in each flight. But we promise you we'll give you a quick insight on our picks. I know Jim's got some favorites. Steve has some favorites. And I've got a couple favorites in there, but one unique aspect of the championship this year is we've got 5 defending champions. We have a defending champion team that's split up. One of the partners couldn't make it this year. We've got a 27-time club champion. We've got a player in the field that came in the state 4-ball second place last week. Numerous players coming off the IR, so it's actually a lot of intrigue tonight. It's going to be very interesting to talk about this quickly. We won't hold you too long, but we're going to put it together in about 7 minutes. So enjoy tonight as we take you through the flights. As always, we're going to start with the first flight and make our way through the field accordingly. So enjoy. So we're going to start with our championship flight, the first flight. It's actually a very interesting flight because our #1 seed is a good mixture. You have a 1985 Club Championship, Scott McAvoy, taking a partnership once again with Brad Stewart, one of the best amateur golfers in New England, coming off a second-place finish in the 4-ball championship. Now, Scott's had a tough spring playing, but they still command the 1 seed, and they have actually quite a field chasing him right now. Steve, looking at the first flight, tell me what you see.
Well, the first thing that pops up to me is Ferns and Garrish looking at repeat. Jimmy hasn't been playing too much this year, but Paul's been out there winning some money, making birdies, and that's what you need in this format. Someone steady and someone who can light it up a little bit once that putter gets going.
Jimmy, what do you see?
I agree with you there, Steve. We've got someone who's very solid in Tony Cornetta, who makes a lot of pars, throws in some birdies, and then you've got Jay Testa, who with his ability to hit the long ball, he can be a birdie machine some days. I think they could be the pairing to watch.
I'm going to go one further. One thing I noticed was the return of Jack DeLucia. Jack, one of the best players of the club for a long time now, took a couple years off, and he makes his way back and repartners with an old partner of his, Dan Siegenberg, 2008 Player of the Year. It's very interesting right there. Jack, obviously, a birdie machine. Dan, very low handicap himself. Yeah, a lot of experience. And, Jack's won this tournament many times, so I'm going with my pick right there. I'm going to stick with that 2 seed. I mean, like I said, I like the defending champions, Ferns and Garrish also. Costa de Chera. You got Bill Hayward and Sean Hayward, a family affair in the 7th spot there. And rounding out the first flight, you got Paul Murphy and Mike Cavallero. So, obviously...
MC, always dangerous.
Always dangerous. So, that's a little insight on the first flight. Let's head down to the second flight. Welcome to the second flight. Now, again, let's head to the top spot immediately because this one caught my attention right away. You've got Lee Martin and Bill Gannon commanding the 1 seed. Now, both players coming off the IR in the past few months. I know Lee, I got a chance to play with him at Portsmouth a few weeks ago. Played very well in tough conditions, and I know Billy's been struggling with a hand injury, an old hockey injury, and commanding the 1 spot. Not going to be easy. Jimmy, fire away. What do you got?
Well, I definitely see Holmes and Holmes, as we know they're always tough competition.
Defending champion, right?
But definitely. But I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm going to go with Paul Steele and Dave Thinnell. Dave lost his partner Howie from last year when they won their flight, and I think Paul could jump right in, and they could be quite a formidable twosome.
We have formidable, Steve. Fire
yes,
back.
Speaking of teams that are not playing together this year, I think Glenn Stryer, Dan Levine. It's going to be different. Normally Glenn and Lou DiPietro are playing together. And Glenn's found himself in the second flight. He'll be getting plenty of shots, but playing from the blue tees, first time in this format in a while. But also, I like to see John Blasek and Mike Keaveney.
We got a boatload of scenarios here. This is Mike Keaveney's last Memorial Day tournament. Like Jimmy said, we got Holmes and Holmes, defending champion. So we got two teams here, one defending champion, one broken up defending champion in their flight. So I'm going to stick with Jimmy. I like Fennell and Paul Steele. It's a sleeper in my mind. But the flight is tough, as always. Look at Ron Bell and Mark Turner. Kind of a last-second pairing there, but usually in the past, like Jim Borden and Jerry McGrath last year, a final day pairing we put together suddenly, and they won. So let's stick with that for now and head down to the third flight. Welcome back to the third flight, because this flight is intriguing. Let's go right to the top spot again and talk about Joe Ray and Tim Crowley. Usually stalwarts in the bottom of the second flight, but now they're commanding the first seat, and there is a number of potential players that are going to be chasing them. This is going to be a really tough flight. Steve, talk to me about the Saginaw-Geropolis team, because right now they're my strong pick in the two-spin.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think that the third flight is highlighted by Saginaw-Geropolis. Both of them strike the ball plenty well. Distance is not an issue. If they can just make a couple putts, make some threes, some 4-for-3s, they're both getting plenty of shots. The 5 handicap is the low in the third flight. Peter's an 11, Paul's a 7, and they're both just as good, if not better, than all the other guys in the field as far as distance, so that won't be a problem.
Jimmy, I'm all about questions that need to be answered. Questions. 27-time club championship Alex Minacchio. Jimmy Rogers coming off a full plate of golf this winter. You got Frank O'Connor, who loses in the last match of the club championship last year. So you're talking about good golf here. Dick Fico, Mark Barber, brand new pairing. Where do we go from here? Who do you like?
I got to tell you, it would be tough to bet against Alex and Jimmy Rogers. They, I think Jimmy can coach Alex around the course pretty well. I do know when Steve O'Connell's on the golf course, sometimes crazy things happen. You got him and Rob Steffens. They could definitely put up a fight. It's really a tough group out there. You got Tony Marinella, Bruce Lerner. They play a lot of golf together. They're used to teaming up.
That's a good point. Tony and Bruce play a lot of competitive golf between them and their friends down here, and it should pay off in a match play competition. Let's bounce right to the fourth flight. Speaking of crazy things in the fourth flight, Jeff Brady's back, and he's paired up with an old friend, Ralph Calvanese. Steve, what do you like about the top spot here? Can they handle it? Look at the players trying to chase him here.
It's very interesting, and I think Brady and Ralph can both have plenty of potential to do it. But I actually like the 2 seed right there. Nelson's trending in the right direction. Murph's playing some really solid golf. So I think the two of them can really go out there and light it up. I'm pretty sure Murphy and his partner last Saturday shot like a net 62 or 63, so he's dangerous in a little 2-ball format.
It's an interesting flight because you've got a very young mix with an older mix. The new Rob and Steve Holt pairing up again. Both young players at the club here and looking to make some noise. But Jimmy, talk about experience here. You've got teams that have been together a long time. Joe Everett, Jim Maloney, Dan Lyons, Steve Gilmore. Dan Lyons, a little longer golf course for him. Can he handle it?
Well, I did see him on the lesson tee this morning, and he was hitting a hard draw. So if he can continue to hit it like that, he's got a chance. He can use a short game to his advantage. I also see the experience of the commander, Paul O'Brien and Dick Strait. They do play a lot of competitive golf. If they can keep it up around the greens, they've got a good chance to get it up and down, put some pressure on their other competitors.
It's great to see Paul back. Nobody grinds better than him. But the one sleeper team here is Kevin Knowlton and Bill Mitchell. This is kind of a new pairing. So with the 10-shot differential, Bill had to get cut down a little. But Kevin, I got a chance to play with him this past weekend, hitting the ball really well. So there's your sleeper pick in the fourth. Let's head to the fifth. Welcome back. It's time we move to the white tees, a little shorter golf course in the fifth flight. Now, let's go on the fifth flight. Immediately, we're going to look at the number 1 seed again, John Perrong and Pat Sullivan, stalwarts in this competition. But let's jump down number 4. We've got a defending champion in the field. We got Steve Babin and Ed Beckscher, who once again, after we've gone through this flight, I've talked to Steve and Jim, and 3 of us agree that Babin and Beckscher, once again, we believe are the favorites in this flight. Now, Steve, I look at this flight. You have a 2013 Player of the Year playing with his son again, but he's coming off the IR. Any chance they can move up the ladder here and catch a top spot?
I like to think so, but I agree with you. Steve Babin and Ed Beckscher, they won first place dailies all 3 days last year. and they rolled the field in the tournament. I like to think that they're going to come out here with some same momentum 1 year later and just intimidate the field with all those clutch pars that they're good for.
Jimmy, nobody's attitude's better than Paul Quaranto and Shannon Zolo. Does a very good demeanor on the golf course, having a good time, pay off, and can they move to the top spot?
It could definitely help. If the more you can stay calm and patient and have a good time, sometimes the better the results are. I look at J.R. McDonald and Tom Ketchum. I mean, no one's going to have more fun on the golf course than they are. Can that carry over to victory? I don't know. You've got John Perrong and Pat Sullivan. If they get their game together, they could be tough to beat. Pat's getting some shots in there, and they could be kind of tough to beat.
What about Dan Johnson and Mark Henry? Looking at that team right there, getting a good price in their handicap, and they're in the middle of the flight, so...
Absolutely. They both have a great opportunity as long as they go out there and do what they're good for and ham and egg each other a little bit and make some 4-for-3s.
Yeah, Sounds you got good. The new pairing of Tom Miller and Mike Kasberg, too.
Good point.
You never know.
Excellent. Let's bounce to the sixth flight. Yeah, let's bounce to 6. Welcome back. It's time for the 6th flight, and we have a really good flight here. This one's interesting because the 3 of us can't agree on anything in this flight, so what we're going to try to do is break this down quickly. We'll go team by team. Let's go right to the number 1 spot. Ed Yard, George Moses. Ed, 2006 Player of the Year. George, one of the longtime players of this club that's won many events. Jump right down to the 8th seed. Jimmy, Steve, you got Cronin and Cronin. Mike and George, can they strike oil?
I think they can. I think they will. They're a very competitive team. They're both very solid. They both hit the ball a mile. The one team that they have to watch out for that's kind of the exact opposite is Skip Loper and Peter Baglioni. They both keep the ball in play. They both get up and down from just about anywhere. It's a very tough matchup for them, I think. So that'll be an interesting match to watch throughout the weekend for sure.
Yeah. Loper, Baglioni, no stranger to the top spot. Jimmy, fire away. What do you think?
There's a couple teams I see here. I see Bill Roach and Brian McDonald. I know Bill Roach has been working hard on his game. Maybe the 2 of them can engineer a victory. I also look at Jack Donovan and Richie Cornetta. There's some veteran presence there, and you do see their names quite a bit. Jack hits the ball pretty long, and Rich you get him inside 100 yards, he's tough to beat.
Curious about the 2 seed, though, guys. Branka Pritchard. Tom, longtime golfer here. John Pritchard, we haven't seen much. Does the GPS in his car work for 3 days, and he finds it here to the first tee?
I have a little insight. I happened to catch Mr. Pritchard on the 5th tee the other day working on his game. Yeah, I think he's trying to sneak in there because he's working on his game. I think he'll be okay this weekend.
Guys, Gianpietro Bates, a little feel-good story. Great to see Gary back and playing golf again.
Yeah,
so.
Yep, feeling good, and you never know. He is competitive with that handicap.
And Eddie Yad also, this past offseason, won the most prestigious award down at this club that he, in his mind, which is best hair. So he's going to be confident this weekend.
I mean, I'm sure his hair is going to be looking nice this weekend because there are a lot of points up for grab.
Skins, close to the pins, quaff readiness. Eddie Yad, a strong favorite. Let's go to the 7th flight. Our final flight of the night, the 7th flight, and boy, it's one of my favorites because, I mean, the storylines here can go any way you want to call this one. The storylines are going to go in all different directions. Start with the number 1 seed again. You got club legend Jerry McGrath teaming up with Jim Borden. They didn't even know each other last year. We put them together, and they won the 5th flight, I believe they won last year. So defending champions in another flight. Go down the list here, Steve and Jim. I mean, I'm looking at between McNeely, Freddie Baglioni, Jim Harger, Keith Billion, Harold Williams, and Dick Hewitt, who brings more experience to the club than these teams?
For me, the Dick Hewitt and Harold Williams, they take the cake in this flight so far. But what's most interesting is Harold Williams and Tom Mercer, both no strangers to the top of the list in whatever flight they play in. But what's going to be tough is they're both the low handicaps in this flight, so they're going to be given shots in every match they come in.
Flight 7, Jimmy, this flight right here. You concerned you got 2 defending champions in the same flight from last year?
Well,
any concern there?
A little bit, because obviously they can handle the pressure. That does make a big difference. I got to look for a couple of newcomers, though. I'm looking at Bob DeFlaminis and Skip Ferrante. I know Skip's been playing well, and I know that Bob told me he's hitting the ball longer than ever. Really hitting the ball well, and I think they could be tough to beat.
Guys, the 8th seed in the 7th flight, Tom Young, Steve Lyons, can they do it? Can they move up the ladder, get up to a top spot?
It's going to be tough for them. They got their work cut out for them for sure. They're just going to have to go out there and make some pars, get up and down from difficult spots, just keep the ball in play. That's all you got to do, and especially they're going to be getting plenty of shots throughout this flight. if they can just go out there and keep the ball in play and make it work, they can find themselves winning matches very quickly.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yep.
Well, there you have it, guys. You got 112 players. You got 7 flights. We got 3 days of competition. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 8 o'clock shotguns each day. We've got 3 matches on Saturday. You got 2 matches on Sunday. You got 2 matches on Monday. You got Player of the Year points. You got Pro Shop credit on the line. You got cash pools on the line. You got the pot of gold on the line. It's the first major of the year. Golf Shop staff is ready. Welcome back to the Frank.
See you this weekend.